I even took notes this time. Welcome everyone, welcome to the channel. I am Gabriel Fast. I do claim to be the Wannabe Critic. Today we are continuing our journey through Marvel's Avengers. I sat down, it's been a couple of weeks since the last time I played. But I feel like, I've had kind of a revelation as I have sat down to, play this game over the past couple of months. Or I guess really the past year, on and off. And it's that it's always good to take your time with a game. Because, a couple episodes ago, I talked about how I enjoyed playing as Iron Man. Then the next episode after that, I talked about how I didn't enjoy playing as Iron Man. And just that span of a couple of weeks, or a week or so, your opinion can change a little bit based on, what your mood is, depending on what's going on personally. And I think that's kind of the beauty of games. Like, a review process shouldn't be forced and it shouldn't be rushed, in my opinion. I'm starting to see the beauty of this series, and it is officially being dubbed Dear Diary. Avengers is kind of the guinea pig, and I've been thinking of the name. It's like Diary something, and Dear Diary just seems to be like a good place, or a good thing to call this series. But enough of that. I just wanted to give you a little bit of clarification as to what you can expect. Let's get right down to it. Basically picking up where we left off, figuring out what the anthill was is kind of like this refuge for Inhumans that was led by Hank Pym, aka Ant-Man. So essentially, he wants you to find some intel and try and figure out what's been happening to these missing Inhumans. We come to find out also that, during A-Day and, this whole process, he's actually lost his powers. So, after figuring out the Inhumans are being tested for something, we're not sure what it is yet, you infiltrate the AIM facility. And then through a couple of sequences, you end up sending a ship to the anthill. You're able to kind of take over some terminals, and it's a classic Destiny situation. Keep the bad guy away, that whole thing. So then after we go back to the anthill, we meet Dante, one of these Inhumans, and we learn that he escaped, but his mother didn't. And, we kind of are starting to see Kamala's, rise to avenge him, to avenge his cause. She's kind of coming into her own as an Avenger even more at this point. And we're kind of starting to see that kind of inherent need for justice that's present within a superhero. After getting to know Dante a little bit more, she approaches Hank and Bruce Banner, and they just kind of give her, they kind of shoo her away. They're like, nah, man, like there's nothing we can do about it. And, Kamala stands up to him. She's like, hey, this is wrong. Like, we got to do it. So what does she do? She sneaks out, kind of in line with her character, I would say. It's kind of funny how it's pretty easy for her to sneak out. Like, the robots that are around, don't even really question her that much. Like, you can full on sprint through this area. And then an Inhuman that you had met earlier just lets her right on through. He's like, oh yeah, like, go for it. Like, it's a great cause. Just do it. I thought it was funny how in that sequence we see a robot sweeping the floor, which is like just a straight ripoff for Destiny. Like, it's just straight up Destiny in that moment. Like, that is like an iconic thing within that game that, a robot does. I can't remember what the name of the robot is, but after Kamala escapes, she tries to go back to the prison area, in which she gets caught, and then she learns that AIM has not only been kidnapping Inhumans to test them, but they have also been killing them. We learn that there's some sort of relationship between, the powers that be as well as AIM. The powers that be are kind of pushing back about all these things that are happening. They're not really crazy about the things that are happening to the Inhumans. Tarleton is using Monica to basically, run these tests, and she uses Tarleton as an example. Is like, look, the test that I ran saved him, so, we can save everyone else at the same time. Still kind of confused as to why that really matters, that I wish that was like a little more distinct and easy to understand. Just kind of seeing the dual side between the relationship between AIM and like this governor guy. But then we soon find out through Black Widow, we get to play as Black Widow rather. We find out that Tarleton has been using Monica to make adaptoids, which are basically Sentinels. They're running tests on all the Inhumans basically until they die. They can analyze their powers, and it's like the Sentinels from like X-Men Days of Future Past, pretty much, is kind of what it reminds me of. So after, fighting a bunch of bad guys and, doing the thing, figuring out where Kamala is, rescuing her, fighting Monica, that whole shebang, we get quite a bit of intel and information on what's going on. After Natasha frees all the Inhumans from the prison, Kamala and, she finds Kamala, and Kamala's like all sad because she thinks she's a failure, and, her and Natasha kind of have a moment. And, Bruce is there as well to kind of help with that moment and, to let her know, like, mistakes happen, like, it's okay, like, you are worth something, because Kamala's all like, oh, I'm going to go back home, like, I don't belong here, all this other stuff. And, the Avengers are nothing but encouraging to her, and Kamala really learns her lesson in that moment. After that, they kind of wrap up everything there. It's kind of unclear at this point what's happening with the Inhumans, like, where they're at. I'm assuming they go back to the anthill. Which, I don't know, I'm going to learn here pretty soon. But after this session, I was at 67% complete of the game. So probably 1 or 2 more sessions, and I think I will probably have, beaten the game. Here are my thoughts, after this hour or so of gameplay. This is why the game is frustrating, in that it is so fun to play sometimes, and, it was challenging. I genuinely enjoyed playing as Black Widow. The trade-off between Kamala and Black Widow, like, those are 2 really awesome characters that have a lot of flow to their combat, and I like their abilities, and it's just a lot of fun. I like the characters. Black Widow is well voiced. I really, really liked playing as her. She's well designed, and it was a lot of fun. Even just fighting robots, which at times were, I will admit, a little campy, because you'd see her doing like martial arts moves like on these robots, and it's like, okay, that animation would make a lot more sense if that was like, a human. But still, her moves are pretty cool, and the only thing I didn't like was how, rapid fire shooting, it kind of like hurt my hand, like kind of like cramped my hand a little bit, which I'm sure there's a skill that will unlock, like, full on, like will let me hold down the trigger to actually shoot my guns and stuff like that. But this is why the game is frustrating, and is that there are moments where you have like a super solid like campaign style game here. You could have put a lot more time just into focusing only on the campaign. You could have put a lot of time into making this feel nice and drawn out. Still trying to wrap my head around why that's a thing. Because now I know I probably only have 1 or 2 play sessions left, and I know I'm not going to really keep playing for anything other than the story content. I'm not going to be playing online with my friends. Like, it was nice to figure out how to finally use my companions towards the beginning of my play session this evening. It was kind of cool to like be like beaten down on guys, and then all of a sudden like Hulk comes out of nowhere, and it did feel a little lifeless because there's not a whole lot of dialogue happening between all the characters as these things are going. So it did feel kind of strange. I didn't really feel Avengers-y, but there were cool moments. It definitely had its moments. This has definitely been the best play session I've had so far. And again, Kamala Khan is the biggest reason why. Kamala and Black Widow have stolen the show so far and are by far the funnest characters to use in this game. Starting to understand kind of how the currency system works and, the artifact system. And I see how it could be a lot of fun to have like a solid group of people to play with. But at the same time, the barrier to entry and trying to learn how to play the game and learn like what all the different currencies do and what they mean, and like, learn about the artifacts and stuff like that, it just leaves me wondering, like, is this game worth it? Is this game worth the time it would take to learn? Because as of right now, for the handful of really cool moments that I've had, most of it has been kind of sketchy. So I don't know. I did enjoy this play session though, and even after a lot of technical difficulties with trying to capture footage tonight, I still had a really good time. So there's that. So after seeing this part 4, I'll definitely be curious to know as to what you guys thought of this section of the game, or if I'm off base on something. Feel free to let me know down in the comments down below. I will gladly accept, anywhere where I am wrong, especially whenever it comes to the story, why the story matters. So keep in mind, I've probably finished it by now, but, say something in the comments anyway. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And before you go, check this out. Well, whatever possessed you to check out any of the content that you saw today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If you check the description down below, you'll see that there's a variety of different projects that I'm associated with. This is Wannabe Critic Productions after all. So I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed what you saw today, consider giving some of those other projects a chance as well. There's a lot of stuff that I'm a part of that that I do. If you were here for me or for someone else that you saw today, again, just thank you for checking it out, and I hope to see you again. But until next time, I'm Gabriel Fast, and I'll always be the Wannabe Critic.